Good morning, Tuvalu, and welcome to Star Trek The Original Series, Season 1, Episode 7. Uh, wait for it. Wait for it. File Explorer. What are little girls made of? I couldn't remember if it started with that or not. Or as true fans know it, Episode 9. I cannot hear myself over that ambience. There we go. Where today, I'll explain how this works for those who don't know, and then we'll get into the little chats. This is bring your own video, because I can't just stream an episode of Star Trek. We're basically recording a commentary track live. So you gotta go, as the screen says, get yourself a copy of the episode, What Are Little Girls Made Of? There's a link to Paramount Plus in the description. I just use a Blu-ray backup I got on my computer. And yeah, eventually we'll do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You'll see, like, the timestamp. Here we go. You'll see the timestamp, and we'll do all that nonsense. But yeah, well, everyone gets that set up, gets their own copy of the episode. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone is staying warm in America. Let's see, right now. In Spokane, it is 1 degree Fahrenheit. Ooh, we've gone above 0. And the wind chill, it feels like minus 15, sorry. I know we've basically got, like, the best part of this polar weather. We're, like, the westernmost front of it. Most of the country will, like, get below that wind chill just on its own, let alone whatever this did to Canada passing through. But yeah, it's cold. And honestly, there's a point when, like, the question, do you mean Fahrenheit and Celsius, becomes rather meaningless, where it's just maximum cold. Like, minus 15 degrees is just maximum cold, in my opinion. So I hope everyone's staying warm. I made some macaroni for lunch, in large part because I knew running the stovetops would heat the room, and I hoped the steam would stick around for a while. I'm probably a little quieter today than usual because I am sitting way back, bundled up in blankets. We're fine. Don't worry about me. The house is fine. The heating's not the best, and the insulation is not the best in the house, so we can't quite keep up. But with, like, a blanket or two, it's comfortable. We actually had someone in to work on the fireplace. We got 2 fireplaces, like, yesterday. And like, basically the old owner, they hadn't used the fireplaces at all, so they hadn't been used, cleaned, or inspected in 20 years. So we needed some professional to clean and then be like, yeah, go ahead, you can start a fire. And it's a good thing we did, because it turns out the main fireplace upstairs, we can't actually use because it's unsafe, because the exhaust lining doesn't go all the way up. So, like, the house, the chimney, the exhaust from that chimney has been building up for, like, decades, just stuck there, and it's almost covered the exhaust. So there's $2,000 down the drain. We gotta fix. I was really hoping to buy a desk, but instead we're gonna get a fireplace. So yeah, I hope everyone is staying warm. This episode, let's wait for it. Let's wait for the magic to happen. Bam. There we go. It really looks like I just removed the background, but nope, it's transparent. See? Oh, look at that. The first frame, is a kiss. That's original series for you. Yeah, What Are Little Girls Made Of is an episode I don't remember too much about. I think it's a good one. I know it's one of the philosophical-y ones. It deals with computers and, like, androids and stuff. Spoilers, I think, actually. But yeah, the 60s in both Star Trek and Doctor Who have it's always interesting, even sometimes in the 80s, actually, just watching these perspectives on robots replacing humans from back in the day, especially now with, like, you know, AI. you know, in an actual genuine fear. Not that it wasn't, you know, kind of. I mean, it's not. It wasn't a genuine fear back in the day. In the sense that like androids would replace people, but there was you know a fear of machines placing humans in jobs, and that was real. Um, but you know we're kind of on the precipice of another, I mean, very critical point into human history, and like where's all this AI going? So it'll be interesting. But I think we should probably just get going. I actually remembered to hit record before. Oops, unmuting myself this time. Get a quick drink. Adjust myself. My neck is a bit sore. Whoopsie daisies. We have our TV upstairs in a weird place, and so my neck is sore. All right. Everybody ready? We're going to do the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And then we're all going to hit go. Oh, actually, before that, I am watching the remastered version. It doesn't matter if you've got the original. It's just a personal preference. But if I comment on some effects, it might be a bit different, you know. But yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And then we're all going to hit play on go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And it actually hit play. We have had trouble with that in the past. Boom, 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 boom. Shoutouts to the person, by the way, who works at Microsoft that decided you can't move this time bar out of the VLC window anymore. It is very annoying. Is that? Oh yeah, Chapel. I'm glad I remembered Chapel's name as well, because I was gonna say the actress's name, but I never know how to pronounce it. Oh, is this her first episode? No. Is it? Hang on. Star Trek TOS Nurse Chapel. That is not TOS Chapel. I always like when they say the atmosphere or the gravity is slightly off Earth. Because it's like, yeah, you know, a human eye, that's not going to notice if it's like 1.1 Earth. But if anyone ever bothered to check, you'd realize that it's just wrong. So I find those lines funny. Where is your appearances page? Tasks. Nope, they were in the naked time. There we go. Oh, yeah, duh. Of course they were. The planets, I know it's are mastered, but are actually a lot better than I remember. Maybe because it's icy. It's a very nice planet. Ah. I've just realized I forgot to make my pre-prepared joke in the intro about being what I remember most about this episode is its very interesting take on women's fashion, and that didn't limit it much. Jack's Law, we've got a tradition on these episodes. I've got to do this part differently 80 times. But here we go. Oh, it's Chewbacca's take this time. Ow, okay, my throat can't take that. That's so dumb. That's so dumb. Oh! Oh. Every time I do that, I see. I'm glad you like it. On my analytics, just before the intro, I always see the concurrent viewers go up one, and then I do something dumb for the intro and it goes down one. I'm sorry, it was such a background detail, but shout outs to that yeoman who brought the captain just a small styrofoam cup on a massive tray rather than just carrying the cup. Yes. You know what? The better joke would have been, Captain, I don't recognize the voice. Who is that? Uh, what's that guy doing in the background? Just staring disgustingly at the back of the nurse. It's old enough for the hair to look like it could be from the future. What? Because it's an old hairstyle? That's a fun point. Sometimes when I watch these old shows, like I know Doctor Who's Genesis of the Daleks has one. They'll have a girl with like the really in short hairstyles that are often like a non-binary or lesbian kind of hairstyle, and it just looks so weird because it's such a modern hairstyle in my mind, but you'll see it as just like someone in a show from the 60s or 70s. I'm like, my brain doesn't get it. It's like, no. I'll tell you though, you want something else that looks like it could be from the future. Wait till we see these outfits. Hey, wait, this is the Penis Rock episode, isn't it? I forgot about that. If we got that to look forward to. Yeah, it never changes. It's just what we're looking at the time. But I think it's rare for things when they cycle back to kind of cycle back so directly. Sorry, OBS weirded out for a second, but it looks like it's fine. Well, they're dead. The guy on the right looks vaguely familiar, though. Oh, maybe he survives. His name is Matthews. They don't usually name them. Although, I happen to remember he doesn't survive. Poor Matthews. So relieved to get a name. God, every time I watch these, I'm always reminded how much I love the music from TOS. Wait, no, they said, I thought this guy was Matthews. The other guy's Matthews. No, I think this guy dies. I don't know about Matthews. We'll have to see. Because the joke is the unnamed red shirt. That'd be a great Lower Decks gag, is someone in a red shirt. So, not even security, it's the wrong era. But, like, who's convinced about the joke that unnamed red shirts always die. And so he beams to the planet, like, begging someone to say his name or whatever. Like, that'd be fun. Or it's time travel. Like, if they ever do something like Strange New Worlds again, they're convinced it's the cursed TOS red shirt uniform. which I think isn't actually true. Like, if you do the numbers, I think it's like blue shirts or something who die the most. But specifically, if you're on the Enterprise, like, almost everyone that dies is red shirt. They walk a fine line of kids and adults watching. I don't know. Wait till the lady who lives in this cave walks out. In the 1960s, I don't know if you could show a kid that. I will say it's not promising. I don't remember the other red shirt or any red shirt being in this episode after this point. I don't have high hopes for Matthews. The... Yeah, look at that camera. I almost mentioned it, but they cut away. That was the second pretty close to upskirt that we got of Chapel as we were talking about letting kids watch this. I mean, I watched this as a kid, but, you know, in the 60s. And for that matter, Kirk is, you know, censored but naked in this episode, I'm pretty sure. You've actually got two Kirks without clothes on at some point in this episode. Hey, there's the penis rock. Don't worry, if you missed it, we'll see it again. Did Kirk just hail the security guy to tell him to hail the Enterprise? Ah. No, they... I think you're right. Like, is it just me, Jaxlaw, or is Christine's dress particularly short, even for TOS? So already interesting in that kind of how did the past view technology. He mentioned that they moved from a freedom um, culture to a mechanistic one, which isn't nonsensical. Oh, look, there we go. Here's the 60s porn. It's not nonsensical, but it is kind of showing that they viewed freedom as almost and like antithetical to being mechanistic. Well, I mean, I think now Christine's looking at that dress and going, actually, I've decided I'm warm. Thank you. I actually, I, 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 I understand the direction of like the TOS clothing because I think even, you know, for like the 40, 60 years after this episode, um, for centuries, kind of clothing has always gotten a little more and more revealing. Um, and there are parts that kind of go back on this. Like Japan made uh, same-sex like onsen's illegal. There are countries that had nude beaches where it's like becoming less and less common to be nude there. But I see like that trend and going, so the future clothing must just be like even less clothing and you can do more and more. Um, like you probably couldn't walk out in that dress in the 60s, but you probably could do that not today, but in like 6 months when it's not 4 to -4 outside. You like that room? I mean, honestly, I don't even think it's that crazy that dress on the left anymore. I could very easily see that on like a runway at a fashion show. I think everyone's wearing makeup in TOS, even if it's just like eyeshadow, because a lot of people watch this in black and white. But I do hope it's warm in this set, though, at least. Oof, nice crazy eyes. All right, now we get to the interesting part. It's only like 15 episodes. I watched a classic Doctor Who episode this morning. I'm used to far more bloat. Yeah, look, her dress is longer than Chapel's. It's pretty well done, actually. What was that, Captain? That was a little less good, but still. Whoa, what a demonstration. You mean he doesn't just do Kirk voices? I think Christine's actor might just have like longer legs or something about her proportions where the dress looks shorter. I don't know. Yeah, it is funny the like I mean actually it's pretty good. Even nowadays, I don't think you could get like that good of an artificial voice off of how little data Rock had. Like so that is still impressive. But and again, even now, like Sure, a lot of voices can trick people, especially if you're not paying attention. But a lot of times I can go like, yeah, that's an AI voice. It's a good one, but that's an AI voice. I'm not sure what like either of them are worried about. Like we can build robots. Terrifying. It's just kind of such a foreign. I remember the disagreements being with stuff that comes later that might actually be much more ambiguous, but right now they can build robots like or androids. Androids are huge, but I don't know. Wait, the skirt does have those little lines. On Chapel, it's got like three folded lines. God, no wonder I could never find an outfit without them. That's what it's based off of. I've tried for so long, because if you look online at the outfits, they don't have them, but hers does. I gotta buy some TOS miniskirts now. Okay, so they are androids. They're not. I mean, technically, an android is just a robot that's shaped like a human, but I assume it means, they're humanoid. Well, whatever. I mean, Doctor, I think the question isn't if you could love the machine. It's if you had sex with the machine, but who wrote this episode? I'm curious, actually. Uh, Star. Don't worry. I think every woman kisses then slaps Kirk. Just usually there's more time in between it. What are little girls made of? I don't know. What are they made of? Written by Robert Bloch. What else did he write? Are they also sexy episodes? Cat's Paw? Uh, Wolf in the Fold. Oh, Wolf on the Floor. That's a Jack the Ripper one. Okay. No, he doesn't just write sexy episodes then. First you get the rock. Then you turn the knob. Then you have a Kirk. See, there's naked Kirk. That's... Kirk might not be wearing a skirt, but that's definitely an up something right there. They This might be the sexiest episode of the original series there is. Also, I've never noticed how weird William Shatner's nipples are. So you're right. Yeah, this is how they made Data. They just like spun him around a bit. This is how Brent Spiner gets his makeup. They put him on a table like this, and then they like just pour paint over the top, and it paints him silver, and then he's Data. I also love this. Chapel's freaking out like, you're harming him. Why are you doing this? I don't know. He's just spinning around. Like, it looks kind of fun. I bet you could pay for this at like a carnival. I mean, I guess that's true. So is he worried that like the androids that he acknowledges don't have emotion will be studied? I guess I remember this being a lot more of like a philosophical argument. Um, but I'm really not understanding the motivations of this guy. There we go. That was well done. Rock and roll. Good one. Okay, that's actually, I think we've ended the part. Kirk is just mush now. Kirk is dead. Finally, the perfect man for Kirk himself. I'm not gonna rewind it, but I definitely feel in one of those shots you could see some fleshy color between Kirk's legs. Yeah, look, his nipples are real weird. Kirk's first thought, I know. I'll be racist. Spock will annoy me at some point. It's smart. It is a little concerning to me. That's like the first thing that Kirk came thought of, and he is like, Spock will definitely annoy me. Even the robots like a skirt. I mean, who wouldn't like a skirt? I mean, not now. It's like -4 out. But, you know, when it's not -4 out. No way his nipples actually look like that. They've got some sort of weird, like, rim. That was not a good cut. How did you mess up that cut? Well, for one, he looks evil. Why does the android Kirk look evil? I could tell them apart. More green cubes. I always thought they were like weird green cubes because they came from the replicator. Apparently, that's just what they eat in the future. Wait, that was Matthews. Poor Matthews. They're both Matthews, maybe. They're brothers. I mean, I didn't know that was Android Kirk, 'cause I've seen this before. But from the moment I walked in, I'm like, that is much more sinister undertones than the actual Kirk. I'm with Robot Kirk on this one. Just don't tell that to Strange New Worlds. Three? What do you mean? That's like half the episodes in this franchise. I think every other computer he defeats by outthinking it. To be fair, I don't think he's outthought a computer yet. But he's gonna. Hitler? Maybe Hitler did promise immortality, but I don't know about it, but yeah, it's always interesting. Um Especially in Star Trek, because Kirk is absolutely right if this is how things work. And like, oh yeah, the idea of like editing the people is just obscene. But he like assumes that because we copy everything about the person into a robot, which is what he said, we copy the whole brain into a robot, that we will lose emotion, which is how it works. I mean, I happen to know because I've seen this episode. But Kirk is assuming that. And if we want to cheat a little bit, we know from Data that's not true. We know from Picard that's not true. We know from Alton, we know from lore, like, it's just not inherently true. But I also really understand the kind of fears and what was going on at the time that brought about like this and things like the Cybermen, where a lot of that was kind of like, you know, founded in ignorance, or kind of like unfounded. That's the word. But a good chunk of it wasn't. So, you know. That's the benefit of hindsight. You know, well, here's the part of your worries that are dumb, and here's the part of your worries that actually makes sense, you know. But I think we're getting to the penis rock scene. Yeah, here we go. If I remember rightly, it doesn't even really look that much like a penis. There have been other better penis rocks in this episode. Hey, that's a point. They did say that he was supposed to obey the orders. So what do we learn from this? I mean, I almost feel like the lesson is kind of behind the times, like, but simultaneously too far ahead of the time. Like, we can't put people into robots. We're nowhere near close, anything like that. And if we ever get close, a lot of these concerns would become real. Do you actually lose the emotions? Are you actually kind of maintain the person? But the things that sort of taking to the extreme, taking to the future, I feel in a lot of ways we've kind of already addressed, or we've resolved those issues of the time. Like, I'm not gonna say none of it is still around. It's just, yeah, look at that. That's not a penis. Oh, that one. That one is a penis. No, you're absolutely right. That's phallic as hell. But like, I remember, I think it's Clever Dick Films on YouTube. He does reviews of the documentaries on all the Doctor Who's, and in one of them he talks about like the origins of the Cybermen and what was going on in England at the time, and kind of the advent of some things like prosthetic limbs, but also like that is ridiculous. Like the idea that somehow replacing, like, someone doesn't have a leg, let's give them a prosthetic leg. We're somehow removing some element of humanity. That's ridiculous and dangerous to maintain is like a belief, because now it means the people who actually need like the medical care or those prosthetics that would be life-changing won't get it. And so that's the kind of things where, kind of with the benefit of hindsight, you can go, yeah, that's dumb. And, you know, a lot of this, we go with the benefit of hindsight that, well, robots didn't take over everybody's jobs. You know, like, we're 60 years on from now. We're fine. But going back to the example, in the UK, and I believe other parts of the world, when, like, the Cybermen were created, also in the 60s, women would often be forced to take kind of like pills and medication they didn't need, to almost like pacify them, or basically try and keep like the happy housewife kind of vibe, which is horrific, but also something we've like largely moved past. Like, we don't do that. I'm sure you could find cases where it's like, oh yeah, you know, there's certain disabilities or mental disabilities we just drug up, and we shouldn't. But you know, we've kind of dealt with those issues. So we're in a weird spot with these episodes where we've moved past the core problems these are addressing, but we're not advanced enough to actually directly deal with like mind transfer and that sort of stuff. What I think, assuming that like we actually had some sort of android body that could have all that emotion, yada yada, and assuming you could do that perfect mind transfer, I'm like of the mind of, you know, let's say you move my mind into the like the robot right now. This like android me is me. It is as much me as, well, I am right now. But at the moment of that transfer, there's now two me's. Like, the biological me is going to age and die and become essentially a different person. But the android me is going to live and not die and become a different person. And, you know, until that kind of split moment, we are exactly the same person. We both had my childhood. We both have my job. We both do all this stuff. But doesn't really work it's like the worst form of immortality, because a version of me gets to move on, but I still have to die. I'm much more for like genetically engineered immortality. But, you know, if the alternative is to just die full stop, then the robot option is the best, you know. Oh yeah, we're closer to this than when the show came out, but we're still nowhere near this. The example I love, even with like artificial intelligence now, which is nowhere near sentience, as a computer, as a software engineer, no, it's like laughable. um, but and I believe this is still true of the latest image recognition softwares. But the example I love is nowadays you could get an AI model that can recognize different animals. Like you showed a picture of a cow and it's like, yeah, this is a cow. You're like, cool. But if you show that AI model a picture of a cow on a beach, it's not going to know what it is. Because cows don't belong on beaches. Like it's trained on cows in like meadows and fields and where cows belong. And so, you know, to a human, it's like, this is obviously a cow. It's on a beach. That's weird, but it's a cow. But these AI models are kind of so... It's like there are still very much ways to show the cracks. Like, this isn't life. This is no way life. This is still kind of nowhere near sci-fi like Data or anything like that. I mean, and we still don't even know if it's possible to program sentience. But of course we are closer because, you know, we're 60 years more advanced technologically. We're closer to everything, you know. And anything that's possible, we're closer to it. How close do you think the sex robots are that will take over your heart? Oh, like decades ago. Have you never played a game with like, I'm going through Baldur's Gate 3 and like Karlach? Oh, you know, they're great. But, you know, they're not actually alive. I mean, look at these characters. Like Kirk, Picard, like, you know, we like them, but they don't exist. They're just written. You know, that's kind of different. I'm sure there are people who love the, like, plastic inflatable things from back in the day. Oh, poor Rock. I mean, again, we've kind of established they aren't alive, though, are they? Ow. You know, I was just thinking earlier, I've only now realized how dangerous those pointy doors are. Yeah. And I think there's a flaw um, with a lot of these kind of moral episodes, or moral episodes like this, which I'm going to fully admit right now is probably a issue with a lot more issues than I think. But I'm only noticing it here because I disagree with this moral stance. Is they're they're presenting, you know, they've created a world where androids are inherently emotionless. You can't do a mind transfer and bring over all that emotion and stuff. It's just not going to work. And then they've shown the character who's moved his mind into an android um, and lost himself. He's lost his humanity. He doesn't have his emotions anymore. Um, and been like, look at how foolish it would be to pursue this. We'd lose our humanity if we kind of put ourselves in robots. And it's like, Well, yeah, because that's what you wrote. I just as easily could write an episode where it did work, and the guy was like, hey, look, we're all immortal, and everyone became happy. And then it says, oh, look at that. We became immortal robots, and now all the universe's problems are solved. It'd be just as empty a kind of proof. Um, because it's like, I set up the rules so that I would be right, and now I'm right. Look at me. Um, and so I always kind of struggle when you do things like this. I think what you have to do is kind of explore a lot of different viewpoints, or make it a lot more ambiguous. Is like, does he actually have the emotions, or make what you really do is make the viewer think about it. Um, Genetic engineering. We just had like Paraspa, Ad Astra Paraspa of Strange New Worlds, and we aren't quite at the point where we can genetically engineer humans, at least not safely. But within my lifetime, that's going to become more and more of a thing. And um, whenever Star Trek kind of deals with its genetic engineering, it actually kind of explores potentials. When it shows like Khan and stuff, is he's bad because he's genetically engineered, that's not the focus. But when like Enterprise does it, it's like, your dad had a curable genetic disease, but we didn't cure him because we've decided genetic engineering is bad. Like, are you really that convinced that it's so bad we can't even use it for good? Um, we explore potential consequences and like how things could go wrong, and that's always a lot more powerful. We also maybe explore how we might be able to do it right and what are the flaws of that. But this is much more, well, I made a world where it doesn't work, and it doesn't work. Look at that. It's kind of subtle, I guess. And I'm not sure how you, if you were to make this topic work a lot better as an exploration, you'd have to change it so much, I think. Um, I mean, even Measure of a Man doesn't deal so much with if Data's alive. It's more like, that's not the point, I guess. It's like, it was more, I don't know. And yeah, look, they do have emotions. Like, they're getting the emotions. Like, every one of them has experienced emotions and going beyond their programming. Yeah. It's just it's just it's just an older viewpoint when like the computers and the technology stuff were so old. Like, you could very easily produce this same episode now, but it's about artificial intelligence, and in 60 years we'll laugh about it when we have fully understand all the flaws, all the ways it doesn't work, but all the ways it actually does work and can fit into society, and like, we'll figure it out, you know? It's very much hard to view a lot of these AI and technology stuff in general from 60 years after it's really a problem. It could be interesting, though, if they ever did do an AI episode, um, and then to watch that get older. I mean, I'll remember, like, in 60 years, I'll hopefully still be around to just remember these early arguments about AI and whatever. Yeah, even this, like, I really hate his double standards when it comes to racism, but with Spock. Because with the other guy on the bridge, in Balance of Terror, he pulls him around and is like, "There's no room for bigotry at my bridge," but how that should probably have gone is like, yeah, Spock, I know, like, you understand the situation I was in. I had to get a message, but I'm still sorry that I both couldn't think of another way. And even if that was the best way forward, that you still had to endure that. You know, you still had to basically have me turn around and be racist. What he actually did was Spock's. Admittedly, he probably was kind of playful saying it, but like very valid potential criticism is like, this hurt me, and went, haha, well, next time I'll remember how you feel. Um, and I feel it always really undermines those kind of better moments of Kirk, where he's like, there's no room for bigotry on my bridge, unless you're me or McCoy. Those are the only ones. But I talk a lot about how I really don't like. It's more McCoy and Spock. I just really don't like McCoy as a person, which is kind of controversial, but also I always see a lot of people on like the Reddit and stuff whenever this discussed, like, yeah, I don't like McCoy. He's, in his own words, an old Southern fossil. And like 400 years after old Southern fossils should exist. But yeah, thanks you, Jaxlaw. Stay safe, stay warm. We'll be fine. It's quite warm under all these blankets, actually, as my voice cracks. Um, but yeah, I should be back next week. Actually, what are we covering next week? Hang on. Dagger of the Mind. Is that the Shakespeare one? Which one is that? Which? Every time I've looked this one up, haven't I? I don't know. I vaguely remember it. But yeah, I want to kind of diversify this because I think it's gonna take like 5 years before we get to TNG, and I'm kind of in two minds where I could keep going through Star Trek in order, and it'll take like 20 years, literally, and so it'll be ages till Enterprise and stuff, but the longer I take, like, this is the first time I've actually had someone in chat the whole time. Thank you, Jaxlaw. That was great. But this kind of pushes back sort of the more quote unquote popular, like, interesting episodes of like TNG in the later series until I might have more of an audience. But of course, watching TOS, which might not be draw as much engagement, means that people might not come. But if I split it up to where I've thought a lot, what if I watch all the series simultaneously? I just cycle. So you watch a TOS episode, then a TNG, then a Deep Space Nine, then a Voyager, then an Enterprise. So you would basically get a new TOS episode every 5 weeks. So basically every month. That's not too bad. But I also would quite like to throw Doctor Who in here, now that we're doing Doctor Who, well, the new stuff. But if I throw modern Doctor Who, which I think I would do, a lot of problems with that, but anyway, 9, 10, 11, 12. At least 11, 12, 13. That becomes... I'd alternate it. I'd do a Star Trek and a Doctor Who. So then you'd get Star Trek a new, like, TOS or TNG, or, like, each series parts would be separated by 10 weeks. So a little, like, 2.5 months, which feels too long. But I'd also like to do classic Doctor Who, and I don't know if I would alternate Doctor Who or how I'd do that. So I've been kind of trying to juggle. Yeah, thanks, Jaxlaw. Yeah, I don't have enough of an audience to really be, like, what people would feel. We'll probably stick with TOS for a bit, mostly because I don't have the money to commission a new character thumbnail art. But maybe I'll experiment. And some of them, like, Do I just decide TNG Deep Space Nine Voyager is one show? I kind of mush it together, but then we're delaying TNG and Voyager. Let alone, God, any of the modern series I didn't do as they came out. And how is Classic Doctor Who even going to work? Some of those are just too slow. I wouldn't be too commentary, especially with no audience. I don't know. We'll see. People move with a flow. I mean, honestly, maybe it is just anyone who would come to these doesn't care. I'm sure the people who really like hearing my opinions like this have got episodes like, what do they think about Measure of a Man, about yada yada. That's why I do these, is so I can kind of point to these watch-alongs, which are going to be a lot better than reviews for episodes I've seen. I don't think anyone new will let go of what they know. Yeah, but it's like, I can't really popcorn that. I mean, I'd rather kind of go through the series, but anyway, it's going to take a while to cover every episode. There's a lot of them, especially if I'm doing weekly. I've thought about trying to get a second one here so I could do Doctor Who and Star Trek, but let's be honest, output on my channel is not exactly consistent. I don't have a video for Tuesday. I think I'm going to try and make one. It's a bit cold to not do stuff at the computer, which is a problem. And my last main video was 8 months ago, the Watch Order Guide. And that's a little bit different because that's more structured. Poorly Explained Season 3, which YouTube said was a year ago, was the last kind of more what I would have called the main videos. And even then, 2 years ago, Star Trek's Prime Directive Makes No Sense and Why It's Not Supposed to was the last video of the sort of thing I imagined to be the main things on this channel. And I don't like that. I'd like to do more, but of course, the more live stream sort of things I do, that takes away from time I might be working on the actual content, and that's the same for the weekly videos. I don't know. We'll see, but I was wondering if people had thoughts, and if anyone's like, I really don't want you to watch Classic Doctor Who, then maybe I won't do it. But yeah, wow. It's been a while. That Modern Watch Order Guide, I'm happy with it. I don't think it'll need updated for a little bit, but yeah, those are good. I just need to sit down and write the script. And that's always hard for me, is the scripts. I want to do that translator video. I just need like a good motivation, and there's been nothing that's been like a great theory I've wanted to write about. I did try and write one about the Remans survived the supernova. Remus survived the Romulan supernova. But I had trouble with the script. This was ages ago, and I dropped it. A good Doctor Who theory might come along. The one Doctor Who video, I think I want the next one to be Star Trek, but was the theory that every the Doctor's regeneration, so like their next incarnation, is influenced by what the previous incarnation was thinking at the time they regenerated. Which is kind of held together by wishes and hope, but it's a fun one that a lot of the canon kind of runs with, and a lot of the fandom runs with. I think that's a video I could actually write, but maybe after this, I might try and put some work in that Universal Translator video. But we'll see. We'll see. I've been thinking about the channel a lot, and yeah, I guess that's it. I wouldn't be surprised if my sort of videos pop down to bi-weekly, once every 2 weeks, just so I actually make myself put some time in to do them, those like bigger videos. But I also actually then need to sit down and do those bigger videos that I can't schedule them. I wanted to do like one big video a month. I think Poorly Explained, we kind of ran with that for a little bit. I don't remember, but that's just a lot of work that might not necessarily get done on top of all the other work I have to do. We'll see. We'll see, and I don't think I want a weekend day. I might do Saturday, Sunday, like Doctor Who is Sunday, Star Trek is Saturday. I might experiment with that, you know? We'll see. But there's a lot I have to do before I see if a Ninth Doctor watch-along is even possible. But whatever. We'll see. I have a big document. There's some big videos I want to do. I want to cover like the entire history of Vulcan from the perspective of Vulcans are accidentally an amazing in-universe and out-of-universe analogy for autism. I've got the title for this one I've had for ages. What is it? It's a great title. I've got it here on my desktop. The Temporal Cold War and Why It Never Happened is like a complete history of the Temporal Cold War and why it never happened, which I really like that one. Go big! Hello, Best of Trek, Worst of Trek. I just love that title. Like, I might add the complete history to it, but basically the complete history of the Temporal Cold War and why it never happened. Just that's such a good title to me. It's like, I'm covering the complete history, but also it never happened. And I think it'd be one that would catch people. Like, what the hell do you mean the Temporal Cold War never happened? Like, we see it, and they mention it in Discovery. But no, I don't think the Temporal Cold War ever happened. And in fact, I think it obviously never happened. Maybe I'd actually write that one first, just because I'm more interested in it. What's another? I have some great titles, actually. Let me pull out, because this is just kind of fun time we're hanging out. Oh my god, where do I keep my video ideas document? Oof, that's not good. Future videos. Unedited? Main channel? Star Trek? Oh my god, where do I keep it? Is it documents? Accounts? House price? God, that's an old one. Careers? I won't spend too long trying to find. Is it under V? Oh my god, I don't know. I think I have one that's Adira's representation sucks and why that's great was what I had from the Discovery like season 3. Yeah, I would click on that if I saw it in my feed. It's such a good title. The Temporal Cold War and Why It Never Happened. It's so time shenanigans. You know what? I think I'm bumping that up the schedule just in my head because I'm like, that's a good one. The Temporal Cold War. And you know what? I might wait until Discovery Season 5 to do that one, just in case they mention the Temporal Cold War, because they probably won't. But after that, we'll have Academy, but we probably won't get any Temporal Cold War stuff very new. Like that Riemann one I mentioned, I was trying to rush because I was worried Picard Season 2 would ruin it. Yes, that's how long ago it was, Picard Season 2. Oh my god, can I find... I've had one I'd been editing for ages where it's the Steven Universe song Stronger Than You, but I'm taking Tuvix's voice lines and making him sing it. I'm gonna... Ideas. Gift ideas. Star Trek ideas. There we go. Oh yeah, what happened to Cisco on Far Beyond the Stars? I feel like I have a great timeline of what happened to Cisco in Deep Space Nine, but the problem is I have to watch like the entire series to get it all in my head again. I have how O was seated in Deep Space Nine, my Star Trek V tinfoil hat theory. Strange Duels ruined that one. The burn was prophesized by the prophets. Voyager's infinite torpedo. Why the Borg haven't taken over the galaxy. Why does Starfleet service 100-year-old ships? I have one that's actually a Reddit post, so the script basically exists, is how fast does Starfleet build ships? Which was actually very interesting when I ran the numbers. Oh yeah, Trill in the 32nd century. Trainway is a one-track mind homicidal maniac. Yeah, Prodigy ruined that a bit. Worf has Klingon autism. That's something my wife said once. And I wrote down in my notes the words, Worf has Klingon autism. And I can't remember for the life of me why, what the arguments were. But that's a title. The Dominion War is an affront in the Temporal Cold War because everyone involved in the Dominion War is on the same side of the Temporal Cold War. That's a fun one. You got a video you recorded a year ago you still haven't finished for release. You've had a Quantum Leap Star Trek theory crossover you've been researching for 2 years. Tuvix isn't the trolley problem. God, there's one someone's going to make me passionate about at some point. Because my Klingon video, which is still, I think, my most viewed Star Trek video, was me when Discovery had, like, come out. It's, like, after Season 2, but before Season 3, before Strange New Worlds. I finally, one day, decided, you know what? I'm going to sort it out. Because I had enough vaguely floating in my head, I knew I could do it. And I worked at McDonald's in the time. And I would, I got into work for, like, an 8-hour shift. And I went, right, put me on the dishes. Because I could mindlessly wash dishes the whole 8 hours, and I worked on this theory, and I busted it out. And then the next day, I came back and did the same thing, just going through all the edge cases I could think of, like the Klingons who were out of time, all those tiny edge cases, and I'm like, it works. And I got home, and I wrote that script out. It's like a Reddit post, actually, for like in a night. And that's how the Klingon video got made. The Borg time loop explain. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of explainy videos. I've thought that, like, the Borg being a time loop, the Borg story in Star Trek, is one that I think a lot of fans know. Not necessarily all of them, but it's a good resource if a good video out there. You're gonna go rewrite the show. Is TOS canon? Yeah, that could be a good video. While time travel is banned. Oh, apparently that's the original title for the Temporal Cold War and why it never happened is while time travel was banned. Why don't Star Trek ships always travel at maximum warp? Yeah, I've got a lot of summary ones. Ooh, a history of starship automation in Star Trek that I have a note here to check a Twitter thread I'm never gonna find. Actually, I'm gonna show this. Instructions. Yeah. This blue section is... Oh, sorry. This blue section is my notes for the Vulcan title, which the working title I have in Notepad is Vulcan Society is founded on emotion and logic. I might actually emphasize emotion, but yeah. And this right here is the intro to that video. I've already written it. How Star Trek's warp scale works. How can a holodeck have infinite space and multiple perspectives? That's one I want to do, but I need to work out how to visually convey what I'm saying. Hey, there it is, how the Temporal Cold War How the Temporal Cold War happened if it never happened. That's not as good of a title. Brief history of, yeah, a bunch of stuff. Spock's Brain is a fantastic episode. A video on Memory Alpha's parking brake page. Oh yeah, here it is. Adira's coming out is bad and why that's great. That's the title I'd written out for, that's basically, like, Adira's coming out scene is very bad because it's, like, should be centuries behind the times, but that's great because it's not written for people like me. It's written for people like Adira and people who have basically never seen any sort of scene like that and basically needs to go, no, here's how you do it. Here's how you come out, I guess, correctly, but more importantly, here's how you react to that correctly, basically, is what Adira's story was in Discovery. And it's the sort of thing where, what's the joke? Is that, like, yes, Uhura is on the Enterprise, but they still have the Black Lady answer the telephone, is kind of the joke of, like, it's progressive, But because we're now 60 years in the future, it really doesn't seem that progressive, and you can actually see a lot of flaws in how they treat women. I don't know so much minorities in Star Trek, but it's like that. We're in give it a few decades, and like Adira is gonna seem kind of backwards, but that's okay because right now we needed it to be. Holodeck and how it works sounds cool. It's just it progressed with like computer animations, but I basically almost need I almost need the computer animations to. I wonder if I could do it in like VR Paint. But yeah, like it does work, albeit not exactly how it's explained in the show, but you can make it work. It's just really hard to say how it works in words. You really need to kind of see it or get your hands on it. There you go. That's someone with aphantasia talking. Is you don't visualize it, you mentally get your hands on it. Here's one that's inspired by something Tom Scott said once. What makes a hologram sentient? Oh yeah, I really want to do one on the singularity and how AI becomes sentient in Star Trek. The Sound of Thunder is the most immoral episode in Star Trek. I'll tell you what, I'll probably write that the day after we do a watch-along. Dear Doc, my note for that episode, Dear Doctor ain't got shit on the Sound of Thunder. That's amazing. Sten changes things about Star Trek canon. Yeah, top 10s would be a good, I've got that one written out. But, and God, reading this is crazy. Jack the Ripper is an immortal, non-corporeal alien. Actually, the dinosaurs did have a space program. The afterlife exists. That's what I've thought about in the past, is that top 10 kind of lists, the 10 greatest, the 10 weirdest, the 10 whatever, are quick and easy, and do well. So they'd be great, almost filler is a main video, to kind of give me more time to work on bigger projects, but still have a consistent output. It's just, I know Best of Trek, Worst of Trek, you're in the chat, but to me, it's always felt almost like, because it's quick, easy, and popular, it almost feels like a little cheap to do. Like, if I could just spit out the video in, like, you know, like, real quickly. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Actually, I'm less. I mean, I'm probably gonna write that at some point. I've got the list already. 10 wildest Star Trek fan theories. Ooh, anybody in the chat? Do you have a wild Star Trek fan theory? Because I've only got 4. I love Voyager because I really want to talk about how Voyager's lackluster writing made Obama president. It's such a good. I mean, that hook, that thumbnail, 7 of 9. Red arrow, Obama. There you go. There's my thumbnail. That's, oh my god, that is the thumbnail for the episode. Oh my gosh, where are we? Encryption. You can break encryption with just how fast. Talk to Del, king of the Trek conspiracies. Ooh, I'm going to do that after here. I'm going to ping him in Discord. I've got the Q who are responsible for all inconsistencies because they want to keep the ratings for Star Trek up. There's a crazy one Ryan Edit has about the whale probe. The United Federation of Hold My Beer. If you've never heard of it, literally type that into Google, the United Federation of Hold My Beer. And yes, there's a butterfly effect theory that is probably at least a little true. This isn't wrong. It's not a theory. It's maybe over-exaggerated, but also maybe not. That Voyager's writing quality directly led to Obama becoming president of the United States, which is wild. It basically, Voyager wasn't being received too well, And so they conceived of a new Seven. They conceived of Seven to replace Kes. And that led to Jerry Ryan, of course, having to go film Voyager. And that led to Jerry Ryan being away from her husband for not insignificant amount of times. Or I think husband at the time, and that led to that husband, while she was on Voyager, having an affair. And that president that person went on to be like some sort of candidate against Obama. I don't think in the presidency, is like mayor of wherever. And during that campaign, that affair came out, and it basically lost him the election because people cared about that stuff back then. There we go, political jab. And that is one of the big things that led to Obama winning that election by like a landslide, and that position put him on the path to presidency. It's like a weird butterfly effect thing. But yeah, I'd have to look up a lot of the details and stuff. Is franchise fatigue real? Yeah, I don't believe in franchise fatigue. Star Trek has no villains. That's a good one. Oh, here's a good title. Gul Dukat was Deep Space Nine's one absolute failure. Because he's so great. He was the one thing Deep Space Nine just totally failed at, because he was not supposed to be morally ambiguous. Vulcans are terrible at logic, because the writers are. Kirk was way more Picard than people think. I'll tell you what, I'm good at titles. Here's one from my wife. The motion picture is a sex ed film. Yep, you'd be amazed how much my wife could tie the motion picture into sex ed. The thing I love about Gul Dukat is he was supposed to be unambiguously evil. Gul Dukat was evil, period, end of story, goodbye. That was the intent of the writers. And of course, a lot of the discussion around Dukat is is he even evil? Like, first off, is he actually done all the things he's accused of? And even if he did, is he actually evil, or was he genuinely trying to do the right thing, and he was just misguided or incompetent, or in some cases, especially later on, insane? Or was he genuinely trying to do the best he could with misguided views in an awful position? And so basically the writers learned about this at some point in Deep Space Nine from like an AOL chat. One of them saw people having this debate and went, oh my God, guys, the fans, some of them don't think Dukat is evil. And they went, well, shit, we gotta write a story where we prove Dukat is evil. And they wrote the story where Dukat and Sisko are trapped in a cave. And that is the story that sold me that Gul Dukat is not an evil person. Because it's the story, the only time they actually give actual, like, facts and figures about Dukat's time at the occupation. And he's like, when I became, like, in charge of Terok Nor, like, worker deaths were down 20%, like, yada yada. And I don't remember a lot of them, but he gives a lot of reasons that, like, no, I didn't try and end the occupation, but I tried to make it as painless as possible. Here is what I did, and here is the proof that it works. And I'm like, okay, Gul Dukat's not evil. And the resolution of this episode was Sisko going, that man is evil. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't understand how you could have talked to him. And he's such a good character, Gul Dukat. Like, I think someone, it might have even been Mark Alamo, said, the great thing about Gul Dukat is anytime he talks, there are 3 different conversations going on. First off is the conversation that Gul Dukat is actually saying, the words that are coming out of his mouth. Then there's the conversation of what Gul Dukat wants you to think. And then there's the conversation of what Gul Dukat actually thinks. And every time, those are always 3 entirely different conversations. Yeah, cover Starfleet design over the ages. That's another I'm very big on these, like, you know, whole franchise spanning episodes. I don't know what that note is. There's franchise fatigue again. Oh yeah, Star Trek and racial biases. That's one I talk about a lot. How sci-fi and fantasy often has a problem of like simplifying entire races down into like one thing. Klingons are warriors, Ferengi are capitalists. I think Star Trek does a great job. Like, I'm not going to pretend that doesn't exist at all, but I really like how it's handled almost naturally. Very analogous, I think, to real world cultures. Discovery didn't fix the dilithium crisis. There's a link to a Reddit post. Will Riker sings Lollipop. Wow. Oh, I gotta make this one for like the Section 31 movie. You know how I fixed the Klingons in Discovery? I managed to fix Section 31. With something that just occurred to me. I don't want to give the whole theory, because, like, that's the video. But I basically found a way for Section 31 to become the hyper-secret organization is an enterprise to the essentially public organization in Discovery that does things behind the Federation's back, but also not entirely, to becoming, like, so secretive the Federation doesn't even think... Well, the Federation as a whole doesn't think it exists, and it basically centers around Archer. That's a good theory. Okay, I gotta do that one. I've got that as a brief theory. I think I can say that in a minute. How long to speak? Yeah, I thought about shorts for a while. Can I make a video out of that one? Paste it. How long to speak? Doesn't actually tell me. Great calculator. Yeah, there you go. So I can fix Section 31. Oh, and then I got a bunch of short. Oh yeah, here's a fun one. Thaddeus Riker is born the year Lower Deck Season 2 takes place. O'Brien is the most important man in Starfleet history. Earth is still a utopia in Discovery. Yeah, there's some fun ones. I'll probably go through here and start working on. I'll pick something out of the hat. But yeah, I've got video ideas. I've got some things I want to do, especially looking through that list. Yeah, I have a video on chess. I have how to play Star Trek 3D chess. It is by far the most viewed video on my channel. That and the Klingon video are why I am monetized. Those are juggernauts. Something happened like a bit before Strange New Worlds that just made the Klingon video explode. I have 25,000 hours of watch time, and almost all of them are these two videos. It's how to play 3D chess and the Klingon video. And I'm trying to get my, like, all-time... There you go. Lifetime views. Yep, how to play 3D chess at 164,000 views. 3 times the Klingon video. And it's my least favorite video on the entire channel. It's awfully done. The camera's shaky. It's not very clear. The framing is off. The chessboard itself is very loose because it's the one I did for a 3D printed review. And I'm constantly reminded about that time I said knight instead of rook, and then corrected myself, and then kept doing it for the whole video. That was from 2016. Please, everyone, go watch my Klingon video 50,000 times. To make that the #1 video, because I'm a lot more proud of that one. Not a video is a video, it's got flaws, but I'm really proud of the theory. I really like that one. Yeah, it must have been... That's why I monetized, is it's not a good video. and it's easy. I just took the rules to 3D chess and like explained them. Like 3D chess is actually really easy with the rules I found, but yeah, it's always like the video you're the least proud of that's up there at number 1, and then the next 3 are again just like really old. I still get emails about this one, how to make a ridiculously cheap analog pressure sensor. Or the water sensor one. I get emails for people wanting the circuit diagram. Yeah. My best 2 Star Trek videos, by the way, are how to make the Klingon video and the classic watch order guide, which is, I always found interesting, is that people really want to know how to watch the classics, but they don't really seem to care about the modern show. Yeah, the modern ones, the original modern Star Trek video is 10,000 views less than the classic. It's 13,000 versus 3,000, which I found really interesting. I always thought the modern one would do better because it's the current shows and it's much more complicated. Like classic Star Trek, you can basically just watch, and you can watch how they came out. Like it's not hard. But yeah, the classic ones are more popular. I think because a lot of people are just watching the modern shows, not caring because they're current and they're going, I want to do the old one right. Maybe I should do how to watch Doctor Who, and I'll be the answer. Okay, first you watch the first Doctor, you do him in order. Then you watch the second Doctor, you do him in order. Then you watch the third Doctor. Like, that'd be such an easy video, and it would apparently do so well. Oh my god, I made $700 off YouTube? I doesn't feel like it. Wow. But yeah, there we go. That's how much I've made in my entire lifetime on YouTube, is apparently $700. Most of that is probably David C. That was fun. Yep, you have to make food, and you have to eat. You are not a robot. Yep, thank you for joining me. It's always great to have an audience. And this is the first time I've had an audience for like the whole watch-along. I do enjoy doing these, especially with other people around. But yeah, I will sign off. We will probably join next week for Dagger of the Mind. We can stop asking what that episode is. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you